In the time when songs are law and the land remembers everything, when every beach and mangrove and sacred waterhole holds the traces of ancestral journeys, there lived a young woman named Wanambi among the Yolngu people, in the place where the auriferous sea meets the red earth of northeast Arnhem Land. Wanambi lived in her community on the coast, where the tide moved in and out with the breathing of the earth, where pandanus palms rustled in the salt breeze, and where the songlines, the invisible threads of music and story, connected every rock, every tree, every living thing to the Yolngu, the dreaming time when ancestral beings shaped the world. It was late in the dry season, that time when the heat eases slightly and the evening brings relief. The beach stretched golden and empty in both directions, and beyond it, the sea glowed turquoise and deep blue, dotted with islands that held their own stories, their own songs, their own responsibilities. Wanambi's grandmother, Yolngu, was a keeper of songs, one of the women who knew the Manike, the clan song series that mapped the journeys of the ancestors across country. She knew the song spirals, the milkeri, the women's crying songs that spiraled like the paths the spirits took, connecting clan to clan, place to place, the living to those who had gone before. These songs were not entertainment or simple stories. They were law, the living code that governed how Yolngu people related to each other, to the land, to the sacred responsibilities passed down from the Yolngu time. Every song was a title deed, a map, a set of instructions, a connection to ancestors, all woven together in melody and rhythm and precisely remembered words. On this particular evening, as the sun began to lower toward the western horizon, turning the clouds to gold and pink and orange, Yolngu came to Wanambi with her dilly bag over her shoulder and her walking stick in hand. "Granddaughter," she said, her voice carrying the authority of one who speaks from knowledge, "it is time for you to walk the song line with me. You have heard the songs and ceremony. Now you must feel them with your feet, see them with your eyes, understand them with your whole being." Wanambi felt a wave of honor wash through her. This was what she had been preparing for, what her years of listening and learning had been leading toward, the deep knowing that came only from walking country with an elder, learning to read the land as text, understanding how the songs and the places were one continuous reality. They walked north along the beach, their feet leaving prints in the wet sand where the tide had recently retreated. The water had pulled back to reveal the reef shelf, exposing rock pools teeming with small fish, anemones, shells of every color. Seabirds called overhead, terns, gulls, the occasional white-bellied sea eagle riding the thermals. As they walked, Yolngu began to sing. The melody was ancient, carried forward through countless generations, each verse precisely memorized, each phrase connected to a specific place along this stretch of coast. The song spoke of the Yolngu sisters, the great ancestral beings who had traveled from the east in their canoe, bringing with them the sacred objects, the digging sticks, the feathered regalia, the law itself. As they journeyed across this land, they created, digging waterholes, shaping dunes, naming plants and animals, giving birth to the first children of the coastal clans. "You see that rock formation?" Yolngu said, pausing in her song to point with her stick toward a distinctive outcropping where the beach met the headland. "That is where one of the Yolngu sisters rested. The shape of the rock remembers her body. The waterhole behind it is where her digging stick touched the earth and fresh water came forth." When we sing this part of the song, we are not just remembering, we are reactivating that creative moment, keeping the connection alive. Wanambi looked at the rock with new eyes. It was not just geology, it was biography, law, sacred text. The land itself was a living archive, and the songs were the key to reading it. They continued walking, Juwandal singing each section as they came to the place it described. Here, a stand of pandanus palms marked where the sisters had rested and created shade. There, a curve in the beach showed where the canoe had touched the sand. Every detail was encoded in song, preserved with precision that rivaled any written text. The songs are maps, Juwandal explained as they paused to catch their breath in the shade of a she-oak tree. But they are more than maps. They are title deeds. They prove which clan has responsibility for which country. They are instructions. They tell us how to care for the land, when to burn, what to harvest, where the sacred places are. They are family trees. They connect us to our ancestors and to each other through the moiety system. Wanambi nodded, understanding that she was being given not just information but responsibility. To know these songs was to become a custodian of country, to take on the obligation of caring for these places according to the law laid down in the Yolngu. The sun continued its descent, and the light grew softer, more golden. They came to a place where a small creek met the ocean, creating an estuary where mangroves grew thick, their roots exposed at low tide, their branches full of roosting birds settling for the evening. "This is a powerful place," Juwandal said quietly. "Where salt water and fresh water meet, where land and sea embrace. Here, many beings passed through in the Yolngu, the Jankawa sisters, yes, but also others. The crocodile ancestor Baru traveled through these waters, bringing fire and transformation. His story is connected to the Orija moiety, different from our Dua connection to the Jankawu, but both are true, both are law." She settled onto a log at the edge of the mangroves, and Wanambi sat beside her. The tide was turning, beginning its slow return, and they could hear the gentle sound of water moving through the mangrove roots, of small crabs scuttling, of fish jumping in the deeper channels. "I will teach you now about the song spirals," Juwandal said, her voice taking on the tone of deep teaching. "The Milkeri, the crying songs. These are not sad songs, though they speak of loss and transformation. They are powerful songs that guide the spirits of the dead on their journey." Wanambi listened intently, knowing this was knowledge of great importance. "When someone dies," Juwandal continued, "their spirit must make a journey. They travel across country, visiting the places that belong to their clan, saying goodbye. A messenger guides them, often Gowak, the coal cuckoo, whose call you hear in the wet season. The song spiral follows this journey, spiraling from clan to clan, place to place, finally leading the spirit up into the sky, to the river of stars." She pointed upward, where the first stars were beginning to appear in the deepening blue. "The Milky Way, that is the river of stars, where the ancestors dwell. When we sing the song spirals, we are helping the spirit find their way home, ensuring they reach the sky country where they belong." Wanambi felt the weight and beauty of this understanding. Death was not an ending but a journey, guided by song, connected to country even in departure. "The song spirals connect everything," Juwandal said. "They link the clans, because the spirit passes through many clan territories on their journey. They link earth and sky. They link the living and the dead. When women sing the Milkeri, we are maintaining the relationships that hold the world together." As the light faded further, Juwandal began to sing a song spiral. Her voice was strong despite her age, carrying the melody that spiraled like the path it described, visiting place after place, naming each one, honoring each connection. Wanambi closed her eyes and let the song carry her. She felt herself traveling with the spirit in the song, moving across the familiar landscape, the beach, the mangroves, the rocky headlands, the freshwater billabongs inland, the sacred sites where ceremony was held. She felt the presence of all the clans connected by this song, all the people who had sung it before, all who would sing it in the future. The song spiraled upward, and in her mind's eye, Wanambi saw the spirit rising, guided by Gowak, moving toward the river of stars. She saw the Milky Way not as distant suns but as a pathway, as country in the sky, as the place where ancestors dwelt and watched over the living. When the song ended, they sat in silence for a long time. The stars were fully emerged now, the sky dark and infinite above them. Wanambi could see the river of stars stretching overhead, dense with light, and she felt the presence of those who had gone before, still connected, still part of the pattern. The sky is also country, Juwandal said softly. The stars are campsites where the ancestors rest. The dark spaces between the stars are also important, they show the shape of beings, the paths between places. Everything is connected, earth, sea, sky. Everything is alive, aware, responsive to song and ceremony. A bird called from the mangroves, the koel cuckoo, Gowak himself, as if acknowledging the teaching. Wanambi shivered slightly, not from cold but from the sense of presence, of being surrounded by awareness both visible and invisible. Come, Juwandal said, rising to her feet. There is one more place I want to show you before we return. They walked inland slightly, following a barely visible path through the she oaks and pandanus palms. The sand gave way to harder ground, and they came to a place where a rocky outcrop created a natural shelter. In the dimming light, Wanambi could just make out paintings on the rock, ochre images in red, white, and yellow, showing the sacred designs, the Mainit that belonged to this place and these ancestral stories. These designs are not decoration, Juwandal said, her voice reverent. They are the patterns that were created in the Wangur, the sacred geometry that underlies all existence. Each clan has its designs, passed down from the ancestors. These paintings renew the connection, make visible what is always present but often unseen. Wanambi looked at the patterns, cross-hatching, diamond shapes, flowing lines that suggested water, movement, transformation. She recognized some from ceremony, from the painted bodies of dancers, from the carved designs on message sticks and sacred objects. The designs and the songs go together, Juwandal explained. Each verse of a song has its corresponding design. When we sing and paint together in ceremony, we are making the Wangur present again, collapsing the distance between then and now, bringing the power of the ancestors into the present moment. She traced one of the designs with her finger, not quite touching the rock, showing respect. The Jankawa sisters brought these designs. As they traveled, they created them, in the sand, in the water, in the air itself. The designs show their journeys, their creative acts, the law they established. When we recreate them, we are continuing their work, keeping country alive and powerful. They sat near the rock shelter as night fully settled. The temperature had dropped, becoming pleasant after the day's heat. Insects began their evening songs, and somewhere in the distance, a dingo called, its voice carrying across the open country. I want you to understand something important, Juwandal said, her voice serious. These songs, these stories, this knowledge, it is not old and dead. It is alive. It is our law, our science, our philosophy, our relationship to country. When outsiders call it folklore or mythology, they misunderstand. This is Ram, living law that governs how we live, how we relate to the land, to each other, to the cosmos itself. Wanambi nodded, feeling the truth of this deeply. The songs were not relics of the past, they were instructions for the present, obligations for the future. Every time we sing a songline, Yolngu continued, we are renewing country. We are keeping the connection between the Wanambi and now alive and strong. We are fulfilling our responsibility as custodians. The land needs our songs as much as we need the land. It is a reciprocal relationship, not one of ownership but of mutual care. She paused, looking out toward the dark ocean, where the stars reflected on the still water. The ancestors chose to create this place, to shape it with their actions and their songs. They gave us the responsibility to care for it, to keep the songs alive, to pass them on to the next generation. This is not a burden, it is an honor, a privilege, a source of strength and identity. Wanambi felt the weight of this responsibility settling onto her shoulders, but it was not heavy. It felt right, like finding her proper place in the pattern, like understanding her purpose. There are many songlines across this country, Yolngu said. Some belong to our clan, our moiety. Others belong to different clans, different groups. We respect those boundaries. We do not sing songs that are not ours to sing. But all the songlines together create a web, a network that covers the entire land. When all the clans sing their songs, the whole country is renewed, the whole web is maintained. She began another song, different from the others. This one was about cooperation, about different clans working together, about the importance of maintaining relationships. It spoke of trade routes, of ceremony, of marriages that connected clans, of the ways Yolngu people had maintained their complex social structure across vast distances for thousands of years. As she sang, Wanambi understood that the songs were also a social contract, a way of organizing society that was sophisticated and resilient. The moiety system, the skin groups, the kinship relationships, all of it was encoded in story and song, passed down orally with precision that matched any written code of law. The song ended, and they sat in comfortable silence. Wanambi felt full of knowledge, full of responsibility, full of connection to this place and these ancestors and this continuing tradition. We should return, Yolngu said eventually. But remember this night. Remember that when you sing these songs, you are not alone. The ancestors sing with you. The land responds to you. You are part of something vast and ancient and ongoing. They walked back toward the community, retracing their steps along the beach. The tide had come in further now, and they walked on the harder sand above the waterline, their path lit by starlight and the rising moon. As they walked, Wanambi found herself humming one of the songs she had learned, feeling how it connected to the places they passed. Here was the rock where the Jankawa's sister rested. There was the waterhole her digging stick created. Each place had its verse, its melody, its meaning. When they reached the community, fires were burning, and people were gathered for the evening. Children played, adults talked quietly, elders sat together sharing knowledge. This was the living community that carried the songs forward, that maintained the connection to country, that kept the Wanambi alive in the present. Yolngu squeezed Wanambi's hand. You are ready to carry these songs forward, granddaughter. Learn them well. Sing them often. Teach them to your children when the time comes. This is how we keep our law alive, how we remain who we are. That night, Wanambi lay in her swag under the stars, listening to the distant sound of waves, the rustle of palm leaves, the calls of night birds. She reviewed the songs in her mind, committing them more deeply to memory, feeling how they connected her to this place. She thought about the Yolngu sisters traveling from the east, creating as they came, establishing the law that would govern their descendants for thousands of years. She thought about the song spirals that guided the spirits of the dead, connecting earth and sky, life and death, all the clans in a web of mutual responsibility. She thought about the sacred designs, the Miniji, that made visible the patterns underlying existence. She thought about how the songs and the land were not separate things but one reality. The land was a song, the songs were land, and both were alive, aware, responsive to human care and attention. She drifted towards sleep with a melody running through her mind, a verse about the beach, the mangroves, the place where salt water and fresh water meet and create abundance. The song was a map, a law, a prayer, an obligation, a gift, all of these things at once. In her dreams, she walked with the Yolngu sisters, watching them create, learning from them directly. She saw them dig waterholes with their sacred digging sticks, and fresh water sprang forth. She saw them name plants and animals, and the beings responded, taking their place in the pattern. She saw them give birth to the first children of the coastal clans, and those children were her ancestors, were her. She dreamed of following Guak, the messenger bird, as he guided a spirit along the song spiral path. They visited clan territory after clan territory, each place singing its verse in the great spiral, until finally they rose up into the river of stars, and she saw that the Milky Way was full of ancestors, all of them still connected to country, still watching, still caring. She dreamed of painting the sacred designs on rock, on bark, on skin, watching the patterns emerge and knowing they had always been there, had been created in the Yolngu and were now being revealed again through her hands, through the hands of all those who came before and would come after. And through all her dreams, the songs continued, the Maniki that mapped the land, the Milkari that guided the spirits, the ceremonial songs that renewed country and maintained the law. The songs never ended, never stopped, were always being sung somewhere by someone, keeping the whole vast web alive and vibrant. Wanambi slept deeply, held by the songs, connected to country, part of the continuing story that stretched from the Yolngu through the present into all the futures yet to come. The tide moved in and out, breathing with the earth. The stars wheeled overhead, the river of stars flowing eternally. The land held its stories, responsive to song, waiting patiently for the next ceremony, the next generation, the next singer to walk its paths and renew its power. The ancestors watched from the sky country, approving, knowing their descendants were fulfilling their responsibilities, keeping the songs alive, maintaining the Ram, caring for country as they had been taught. All was well in the land of the Yolngu. All was as it should be. The songs remembered. The land responded. The connection held. And in the morning, Wanambi would wake and continue learning, walking country with her grandmother, committing more verses to memory, deepening her understanding, taking on more fully her role as custodian, as keeper of songs, as one who maintains the living law. The tradition continued, alive and adaptive, ancient and present, personal and communal, practical and sacred, all at once.